My name is Vicky and I am Head of Trends here at TrendWatching. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day to join this webinar in which I will be discussing the consumer agent economy. I know we have people joining from all over the world, so please introduce yourself in the chat. If you have questions, please post them there too. A few colleagues of mine are waiting to answer them, so I hope you make them work hard during the next 30 minutes or so. And we also have a couple of polls throughout too. So the first one is just a little bit of an icebreaker. I'd like to hear where you're at when you think about consumer agents within your company, within the brands that you work for. And I just want to let you know that today all of the content you hear comes from a trend report series called Fast Forward that we publish on the TrendWatching platform. So stay tuned. Oh, I just realized I think you might also be able to see me there. Sorry. Honestly, everyone. Okay, we're organised. Let me start that sentence again. All the content you hear today comes from a report series called Fast Forward that we publish on the TrendWatching platform. So stay tuned at the end of the webinar for more on how you can access the full PDF alongside lots of other TrendWatching goodies. So what will we cover today? First, we're going to just discuss briefly what are consumer AI agents, what is driving this shift, what brands are already doing, and then what's next. In some ways, the entire report can be summed up with this sentence. The rules of retail are changing as AI evolves from assistant to agent. But please don't leave the call, leave the webinar. There is a lot to unpack here. So you've probably noticed that the customer journey is being reimagined. 80% of search users now rely on AI summaries at least 40% of the time. The ways in which consumers discover and learn about products is changing. Now, this isn't new news. We've previously observed how product discovery shifted towards social media, TikTok, Instagram. Now it's moving to ChatGPT, to Perplexity, to Google Gemini. And this growing familiarity with AI search and recommendations is paving the way for AI agents that can browse, negotiate, and check out on shoppers' behalf. Now, this fundamentally changes who controls consumer relationships and shifts the competitive landscape away from what we might think of as traditional marketing and into a new space where visibility to AI agents is as crucial as SEO. What are the benefits for the consumer? Well, AI agents could essentially offer this new kind of convenience, but also new dependencies, right? Consumers will want to know that the agents are doing what is best for them and not for brands. So before we dive into why this is happening, let's make sure we are all on the same page, slide, when it comes to what an AI agent is. After all, this is a phrase that is doing the rounds a lot at the moment. I'm sure you maybe even heard it at least once today. And we're seeing tech companies and startups roll out all of these new products, services, and campaigns. So for the purposes of this webinar, we are defining an AI consumer agent as something that can take action and make decisions independently to achieve predetermined goals. In retail more specifically, that will result in AI agents that can act as personal shoppers on behalf of consumers. So that means autonomously curating product selections. That means conducting purchases or even handling customer service inquiries. So now we know what it is, let's explore what's underpinning the rise of AI agents. Firstly, the very human quest for convenience and relevance. If you have attended a TrendWatching event or webinar in the past, or if you're a client, you will know that trends are rooted in basic human needs. And you don't get much more of a basic human need than convenience and relevance. And they're very important when it comes to shopping. We like our shopping experiences to be those two things. Companies and startups have come up with all sorts of tech-led, convenience-focused retail solutions in the past, of course. If you have been watching trends, watching innovations for a long time, you might remember the Moby Mart. So this was billed as a supermarket that comes to you. A quick refresher. It was an autonomous vehicle that was designed to be almost completely self-sufficient. It relied on software to track inventory, which then alerted the Mobimart when it needed restocking. It was, ran on an electric engine, had solar panels, everything you can think of, it ticked the box. If you think it sounds too good to be true, well, it did a very short pilot and then never really, quite literally, went anywhere else. Or perhaps you remember when Sephora installed a giant digital mirror at their flagship store in Madrid that promised personalized recommendations using AI, so it could detect data about the shopper that was looking into it, including things like their gender, their age, and then offer products that it thought matched those things. Or there's also, of course, Amazon's Just Walk Out technology. Now, that, of course, did materialize, but maybe wasn't quite the success story Amazon promised. Sainsbury's, which I think was Just Walk Out's first international customer, fairly recently pulled the plug on their Just Walk Out store in London. So I could go on. What has changed now, right? Why might this story around retail, convenience, relevance be different? Well, of course, the tech landscape has fundamentally changed. As big tech companies roll out their latest, world's most powerful model, they are also at the same time working on AI agents. And unlike these tech predecessors that we just discussed, these AI agents can be integrated into existing digital habits, meaning limited behavior change. And so this combination of improved AI, this deeper platform integration, and these interconnected ecosystems could result in agent-mediated shopping experiences that actually deliver. One thing I want to mention before we get further into this webinar is every day brings more AI news, more AI launches. It's a bit overwhelming, right? And what I'm going to touch on in the next sort of 25 minutes is just a fraction of what is out there. On this slide, you can see a few of the updates that were making headlines when I put this deck together over the last couple of days. But I do think it's worth flagging a couple of recent notable announcements that do impact very specifically the topic that we are talking about today. First up, Visa, who launched Visa Intelligent Commerce. The clue is in the name. They want to help make commerce more intelligent. So they're going to open up their payment network to AI developers who are building this next generation of shopping experiences. And basically the program will allow AI agents to find and buy products on behalf of consumers. But what they really want to do is create trust in this process. We'll talk a little bit more about that, like that lack of trust, potential lack of trust in a minute. But this is going to be done through what they are calling AI-ready cards. So these replace your standard debit credit card with tokenized credentials, meaning more security while your AI agent is shopping for you. And then in the middle of this month, Perplexity announced that they had partnered with PayPal to power agentic commerce across the Perplexity Pro platform. And so this is going to allow US consumers, and this actually isn't live yet. They said that it will launch in the summer. What it will do is it will allow consumers to check out instantly with PayPal or Venmo when they ask Perplexity to find products, book travel, or buy tickets. And it seems like consumers are keen to use AI when shopping. According to research Capgemini published at the start of this year, 71% of global consumers would like to see AI integrated into their shopping actions. That's up from 56% in 2023. And actually more and more are purchasing products recommended by AI tools like ChatGPT. 68% said that, up from 52%. And when we think about it, these AI agents, as they evolve from assistants to purchasers, these very traditional brand touch points like mobile apps will decline, and the ways that brands collect customer data will change. It may not be so much from direct interactions, it will be from these AI-mediated conversations. Essentially, AI agents will become the new gatekeepers of consumer attention. And look, we've talked about convenience and relevance. Another basic human need when it comes to commerce interactions is simplicity. We like our transactions also to be easy. Many consumers are overwhelmed by the number of options that are available to them when they go to make a purchase. There's so many reviews to sift through, trying to work out if something is sponsored content or an ad. Then you have to research the best price. It is really quite a lot. As a result, consumers typically shop at a very narrow range of retailers because they want, the best choice without too much mental effort. What's interesting is that AI agents actually have the potential to change this because they can search across the entire retail landscape and they can evaluate on very objective criteria. They won't really have like an emotional reaction or an emotional connection to a retailer in the same way that a consumer might. So this means therefore that, consumers then have the option, well, they already had the option, but maybe they just didn't want to take the time to, shop much more broadly, and they might make their selection based more on product merit. And that raises very interesting questions. When shoppers are effortlessly presented with the best options, brand loyalty, which we have already seen decline, will really just take another dent. And so what happens, when customers can easily discover options that outperform the ones that your brand has? So definitely an interesting question to keep thinking about. It's important to acknowledge that consumer adoption will likely vary across product categories, right? Commodities, functional goods, by things I mean toilet paper, or maybe light bulbs, maybe a logical starting point for things that an AI agent might purchase. Whereas, emotional or luxury products, like, a diamond ring, for example, might remain human guided for longer. And of course, shopping will still be a social activity. People will still enjoy going into stores as well. And, barriers to outsourcing remain. We sort of touched on this a little bit when we looked at that update from Visa. Even with their desire for convenience, for simplicity, consumers do require a sense of control, especially when it comes to finalizing the purchase selection and the transaction. So if you consider this stat, 3/4 of AI adopters say they are unlikely to allow AI to automatically reorder or pay for high-value purchases without approval. So this is among a consumer cohort that is already comfortable with and familiar with these tools, perhaps kind of more than your average consumer. So, brands, tech companies will need to work to gain trust. That means being transparent about limitations and data privacy, and, probably more of the same of what we saw with the Visa platform as well. Of course, let's remember as well that other digital services, something like online banking, for example, initially faced skepticism, with many consumers concerned about fraud and a host of other issues related to that. But today, digital wallets are just completely the norm. Consumer acceptance, often follows a pattern. Apprehension, followed by experimentation, and often adoption. And look, many people are still at the apprehension stage, but I think we can guess the direction of travel. So that is what is driving this shift. Let's explore some real world innovations and take a look at what brands will do. So as we journey through these innovations, the AI agents essentially get a little bit more complex, or the ideas around them get a bit more complex. So this one is actually very simple. It's from Marks & Spencer, retailer in the UK, and they introduced an AI-powered wine finder, which helps you choose the right bottle based on your personal taste. So it was developed with a company called Preferably, and you just answer a few questions about your preferences, and then you receive tailored recommendations from their wine selection. It integrates with their food catalogue. It has real-time stock availability, and it basically allows people to then add the items that they want to their digital shopping list. So within the kind of role of AI agent, this is definitely an AI agent that is working more as an assistant, as a curator, essentially. But obviously, the interesting thing to think about here is that, you know, search queries focused on needs, for example, you know, the best summer trainers are rising, with consumers kind of making those kinds of search queries rather than including a brand in their search term. As they start to move more towards these kinds of tools, what does that mean for brands? Okay, moving on to our second innovation. Perhaps you saw that just last month, Amazon began testing a shopping feature called Buy For Me. If shoppers are searching for something Amazon doesn't sell, which apparently there are some things Amazon do not sell, I don't know if anyone has ever found any. Maybe you could leave that in the comment, actually, in the chat, if you found something legal that Amazon doesn't sell. Let us all know. Anyway, sorry, I've distracted myself. Right, so if you're searching for something that Amazon doesn't sell, the Buy For Me feature can display products that are available on other websites. So shoppers can select and request to purchase one of these products without leaving the Amazon shopping app. According to Amazon, the shopping agent can visit the external website, it can select the product that they asked for, fill out their name, the address, payment details, and purchase it. And look, for many people, Amazon is already the first place they go to make a purchase. This could allow them to capture even more sales. Right, what if we took this up a step further? So Amazon are helping you buy more socks, more leggings, but Singapore-based real estate portal Mogul want to use AI to streamline buying a house. The company recently introduced something called Maya, which is an AI-powered property agent developed by powered by Google Cloud Vertex AI and Gemini models. And what it can do is it can scan, I think it's over 100,000 listings from major property platforms like Property Guru, and then helps match buyers with suitable properties. But then, this is where it gets quite interesting, it also automates WhatsApp chats with sellers or their agents, ensuring very quick and very seamless scheduling. If you have ever tried to buy a house or an apartment or even rent one, you will know that that process is very, very complex, high stress. It's not just, you know, it is a high value purchase, potentially, of course, but often, you know, the route to finding and the route to making the sale or the transaction in this case is actually very stressful. And look, maybe consumers don't trust AI yet to, you know, sign the contract for them and pick the house. This does kind of highlight the role that agents can play in the tasks that lead up to a purchase decision. Finally, what about Doji? So this is a startup that are using AI to make outfit try-ons easier and maybe, you know, a bit more social. So they allow users to create an avatar, a digital twin, essentially. You upload 6 selfies, then it takes about 30 minutes to create this digital twin that looks just like you. Once that's done, you can then dress that likeness in clothes from the brand, so things that are included in the app or that they can link to. And essentially allows users to try on items to see how they look, although it can't yet tell you how they might fit. And they publicly launched on the App Store earlier this month. One thing that's very interesting here is using AI avatars could potentially, to try on clothes, could potentially help brands reduce returns. And of course, look, when it comes to the consumer agent economy, commerce really is just the start. AI agents are also transforming other industries, not just retail. Perhaps you remember the big announcement from NVIDIA at the start of the year. They have partnered with Krafton, which is the studio behind PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And they announced and sort of showed that they were working on the first co-playable character, or CPC, called PUBG Ally. So these CPCs are essentially advanced AI companions that can interact with and support players much like a real teammate. They can understand voice commands, they can strategize, They can find and share loot. They can spot enemies, like anything you might need from an in-game companion, they can do. Now, no official launch date was announced at the time or since, but let's think about what this means, okay? Interaction with an independent AI agent means that every gameplay will be different. That means there is potential for customization at scale. AI agents' value goes a long way beyond convenience. Maybe it could even help refresh the consumer experience. And finally, just to share this innovation with you, so this is a company called Do Not Pay. They have been around for a while. They originally started to help fight parking tickets, and now they have really branched out and offer what they call a robot lawyer that can handle all sorts of bureaucratic processes. So now it can help fight spam, secure refunds, cancel subscriptions, secure financial aid for students, and more. The reason why I wanted to just bring this one to your attention is because in a recent interview, the founder talked about how Do Not Pay's lawyers, and I keep doing this because the Do Not Pay was recently required to pay a FTC fine for inflating its capabilities and calling its lawyer a lawyer. Anyway, back to my point. In a recent interview, the founder talked about how Do Not Pay's lawyers increasingly handle agent-to-agent interactions, with the robot lawyer negotiating on behalf of the consumer with a big company's customer service AI agent. So it's really kind of agent-to-agent interaction, which is obviously, the kind of natural evolution of what is happening here. And so maybe we should think a little bit about the consumer agent evolution. And we sort of started seeing that story through the innovations I shared with you. But the first stage is really, AI agents that curate the most relevant product options. So consumers, overwhelmed by all the options that are available to them, look for AI agents that act as curators, tailoring recommendations to their needs. And for brands, success will probably depend on much more than kind of contextual positioning. This will require a real understanding of how AI agents and AI-powered marketplaces operate. And so really the brands that optimize for multiple AI platforms will really gain a competitive edge. Meanwhile, step number 2, AI agents autonomously make purchases for consumers. So we've gone from assistance to autonomous purchasing. And these are starting to become a reality, as we saw with the Amazon example. And these AI agents, which will, partner across, which will kind of work across multiple parameters, will further reshape the loyalty dynamics, as we already discussed. And of course, when AI can just switch deals, just help consumers find the best deal automatically, price, that's also going to be another important thing for brands to think about. Phase 3, advocacy. AI agents negotiate with brands on behalf of consumers. So really this next phase of agentic retail will position AI agents as the primary point of contact between brands and consumers. And in fact, Gartner predicts that by 2027, 85% of customer data will come from AI-led interactions. And as consumers engage less with traditional retail channels and power shifts, from traditional marketplaces to AI agents, retailers might need to assess the role and the value that they bring to customer relationships. Finally, the widespread adoption of consumer AI agents will usher in this agent-to-agent economy, as we started to see in that innovation, Do Not Pay. And this is really where interactions between consumers and brands are handled entirely by AI on both sides. And this shift will start to redefine customer service. It's going to maybe remove humans from the loop potentially. And it's, will have very far-reaching implications for pre-purchase discovery, post-purchase support. In fact, Salesforce anticipate the rise of an agent-in-chief even, that oversees AI networks and ensures human oversight. There's an agent to oversee all of the agents. And as I said previously, look, we're starting to just see the start here also from a consumer perspective. As consumers become more comfortable outsourcing purchase decisions, they'll likely be more open to AI consumer agents in other areas. For example, lifestyle managers that proactively plan and manage entire lifestyles, finances, health, social events, career moves even. Or maybe tailored tastemakers, as AI agents, introduce consumers to new cultural trends or niche creators or experiences that match their preferences, help them discover things that they like that they didn't even know they might like. Or maybe what about AI agents as product development partners that can aggregate consumer preferences and share them with brands? These agents help create products or experiences tailored to consumer requirements. Perhaps there is something to think about a long-term strategy that might account for this kind of emerging consumer AI relationships. So lots to think about, lots of kind of future scenarios, lots of things that are already happening. I would love to hear a little bit more from you actually. If you check the chat, you can kind of share how you think this might impact you in the coming months. And I guess really the way I'd like to wrap this up is by saying, the emergence of AI assistants that we're seeing now is really the kind of first wave in a broader shift towards this agent economy. A future where we might have invisible consumption, agent-to-agent transactions, or even AI entities that have their own preferences that can fundamentally reshape, the way retail is done. And look, some of these scenarios do remain on the horizon for now, but the foundations are being laid today, with every AI-powered retail experience. So how will you prepare for the consumer agent economy? So we covered quite a lot today. We looked at what exactly consumer agents are. We looked at what is driving this shift, what brands are already doing, and what's next. Hopefully you are feeling a little bit like this, but in a good way. Hopefully there is so much for you to think about. Hopefully this has given you lots of avenues worth exploring. It was great to kind of see how you are thinking about working with AI within the brands and the roles and the industries that you are operating in. As I said at the start, if you would like to access the full PDF version of this report, you can. You can request a free trial, a free 14-day trial of the TrendWatching platform. So you can either scan this QR code or you can use a link that will be shared in the chat. It will also be shared in the kind of wrap-up email after the session too. If you are wondering, okay, I'd like to get this PDF, but why else should I sign up for a trial? What else is available? Well, we also have lots of other reports, trends, innovations, AI tools, but one of the most exciting things that we have is our Complete Academy course. 3 modules, 12 sessions, loads more real-world AI innovations, tips and tools that will help you embed AI at every stage of your innovation journey. So all that remains is for me to say thank you so much for joining. I hope that you have had lots of inspiration and that you continue your consumer agent journey. Enjoy the rest of your day and thank you once again.